Ocean's 8 happened. Oh my god. I'm about to leave for France in like an hour, but I really want to film this video so I have something to edit on the plane. So don't have my tripod, so it's set up on a little windowsill right now. We're gonna see how long this lasts with me kneeling on my chair. I have so many notes. Okay, we gotta get through this video quickly. I already have a feeling it's gonna take like an hour. But let's get into it. The thesis, I would like to think, of Ocean's 8 is when Cate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock's characters were picking and choosing who was going to be a part of their Ocean's team. And when Cate Blanchett recommended a man, and Sandra's character said no men, and she said something along the lines of men get noticed and girls get ignored. We need to be ignored. I was under the impression that this was the central theme of the whole film. And honestly, it's a good theme. It's a very smart idea, and it makes sense because a lot of women can personally relate to that feeling of in life you have to take kind of sneakier kind of routes and ways in which to be heard and for you to succeed. The problem with this exact theme is that it's not what the Ocean movies are. Men are the Ocean's movies because it is a men's storyline. Now, I know you may be thinking that's unfeminist of me to say, but if anything, I'm just critiquing the Ocean's movies. They're great movies, but come on. As John Mulaney said, it's hard to put a heist of women together. Men, their character traits that we have of them since the dawn of time are that they can infiltrate, they can confidently do things, they can confidently commit crimes, and we look the other way because we assume that men know what they're doing. They can be charming and they are given power easily. These are things that we can see even with Miss Congeniality, which is another Sandra Bullock film, just thinking in the same kind of universe, just in case anyone thinks I'm lying. You wanna go outside? Yeah, sure. In Miss Congeniality, Sandra Bullock's character, she was part of a police team. She was kind of ugly, and they disregarded her, and they didn't really care about her, and they thought she was just kind of like the ugly old crone. And then, when she got really pretty, she was still ignored and just viewed as the pretty face. Men in her lives continued to take power instead of her. I keep slipping on this chair, but you know what? We're committing to the bit. Like Sarah Paulson's character, she just got that job at Vogue. Vogue didn't do a background check. They didn't do a background check for the employees who are going to be running the Met Gala. Unrealistic. Oh my god. We don't really know a lot about Cate Blanchett's character. Oh, and by the way, throughout the rest of this video, I'm not going to be calling them by their character names. I'm going to be calling them by their actor names because you guys will understand who I'm talking about more. No, yeah, but Cate Blanchett's character is just running this, like, nightclub, I think, and is she? I don't know, it's unclear, and it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, it's not talked about enough, and her power isn't obvious, and I thought that was kind of weird. Awkwafina has never been questioned on whether or not she's been cheating at her little card game, or, like, you know, if she was like pulling wallets from people. No one ever questioned her about that. You think that's a little suspicious? And Sandra Bullock's character was never like doubted about her plan. Sure, at the beginning of the movie when she's at the funeral, or not funeral, just like the grave of her brother, then the old guy from the old Ocean's 11 movie came. He wasn't necessarily doubting her. He was more saying, don't do it, because, you know, you don't want to do that kind of thing. No one doubted her. Kind of weird. Now, these things suck, but it's realistic to 2018 women. Now, they did have good moments. like Mindy's character and how her mom was like, you're never gonna get married if you're like a mean person or whatever. And how I liked Helena's character, Helena Bonham Carter. She was one of the strongest characters in the movie because she was very cute and equally nervous. She was kind of like a wild card, like you didn't know whether or not she was going to destroy the plan or not, and she was one of the most important aspects of the part, you know? Anne Hathaway was the best character in the film. She was hilarious, and she was kind of making fun of celebrities and that kind of aura celebrities have. I don't know. I thought she was really funny. Hot coffee. And the scenes with Helena Bonham Carter and Anne Hathaway were the strongest in the movie. A lot of the characters were acting like men. And I know that sounds weird, and you would think that that's, you know, oh, well, like, why can't girls, like, act like men? Then what's the point in making it an all-woman movie if you're not going to talk about how different it is to make a heist of women than it is to make a heist of men, unless you're just trying to get money off of the old Ocean's movies. The characters that exude this the most were Sandra Bullock's, Cate Blanchett's, Rihanna / Awkwafina a little bit. I did really like Awkwafina. I thought she was like very good and very funny, but there are a few things I would switch around. And Sarah Paulson. Sarah Paulson's the one I think had the most potential out of the ones I mentioned. But yeah, let's get on to If I Directed Ocean's 8. Now, odd request, but I think the whole movie in general needs more men. Explain. So I think how the movie should have started is instead of her doing that little monologue about how it's like, oh, I'm gonna go on the straight and narrow, blah, 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 she leaves jail. They're like, okay, like, you know, yeah, blah, blah, blah. They just like do the whole police procedure of letting someone out of jail. She gets her stuff. It's clearly like a night out outfit. It's not black though. So she's getting her stuff back and she asks the police officer, what day is it? And they say it's blah, blah, blah day. She exits, she looks at the watch, she looks at her dress, and then she walks on over to clothing stores and such, and she gets changed. And she gets changed in formal black attire. She puts on some, like a kind of vampy look, you know. She gets a black umbrella, and she makes her way all the way, well, and she's walking, and then she gets in a cab, and she goes to her brother's funeral. She gets in, and everyone notices, and it's outside. This is an outside funeral. She gets there, everyone stops and stares at her, and it's a little bit of, like, some shocked faces of, like, and she's like, sorry, I'm late. And that's, like, the first actual sentence we get from our protagonist. And I think that's a way more badass way to introduce this character. Now, they're starting the funeral, and the old guy from the old Ocean's movie, he's like saying a little something about how he was a great man and he accomplished so much and he did what he could and he like was a star student, and it's a shot of Sandra's face and she's like boiling with anger, and then but it's like a kind of still anger. She's not like openly gonna say something, but she's just like festering, and then we go into a flashback. And it goes into just little montages through the years of her and Danny as children, and it shows it shows him always getting what he wants, or him always being recognized for his academic and any achievement really, and she doing the exact same thing but getting ignored, and just that's like literally all throughout her life and all throughout high school. And in the end of the movies, he like is getting out of jail, and her it's like a shot of like him getting out of jail, like young Danny getting out of jail, and the parents are like there hugging him, and she's sitting there with a graduation cap and a diploma like in her hand, sitting on the bench waiting so she can leave. Shots like that to show that she was constantly ignored throughout her childhood because Danny was the star kid. And as his grave is going down into the ground, as it's descending, it's an up-angle shot that's slowly descending. Yeah. Looking down at it, at the grave, and she spits on it. And that tells us everything we need to know about her motivations, why she's gonna do what she's going to do for the rest of the movie, and it sets up an amazing and complex lead character. And we continue. Oh my god, I gotta hurry up. Now, first of all, Cate Blanchett's character is a lesbian now. I'm sorry, but if you saw the movie, she's so clearly a lesbian, so we're gonna put it into canon now. She works at that, like, at the nightclub that we saw her at. She is an owner, like she was before, or like we assume she was before. But now, when she's walking around, she's in like a tight, skin-tight dress, like low neckline, and it's like really, really short. She's wearing big chunky heels, and she looks visibly uncomfortable. She's like trying to hike up the like shirt and pull down the like dress, you know. And she's like walking around making sure everyone's having a good time. And someone at the bar calls her, and it's like one of the bartenders, and he's like, hey, can you bring this over to the table number 5? And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm your boss. And she's like, well, and he's like, oh, really? And she's like, whatever, I'll take it. And so she's taking it, and then as she's walking, someone pinches her butt, and she like slams him over the head with the tray. And she gets like alcohol all over her or something. And as she's cleaning herself up later, she gets a text, and it's like, hey, come meet me here and here, you know, whatever. And she's like, oh, like, hello to you too, you know, that kind of funny jokes. And then we see her putting on her lesbian suit, and she's looking much more comfortable in her look, but like, you know, like masculine and feminine, a little androgynous, how she was looking in the movie. Now we go back to Sandra, and it's the same conversation she's having with the old guy, but instead of him saying, you shouldn't do this because Danny wouldn't want you to, it's more, you shouldn't do this, it's a suicide mission, you don't know what you're doing. It's him underestimating as to what she can do. And that line that was said later in the movie, when she's like, I think it's Mindy's character, who's like, how did you have time to plan all this? And she says like, 5 years, 8 months, blah, blah, blah. She says that there. And I think that will be way more powerful. And so then they do that little lunch date, and they're flirting, like a lot. But it's like a little bit of like a playful back and forth. And then Kate accidentally does something that's like a little too forward, like a little too flirtatious, and Sandra looks visibly uncomfortable, and Kate stops. Continue their conversation. Next, on to the introductions. We have to gloss through this, guys. I can't edit the whole movie. Bonhams is the same, but instead of them saying that it's like their grandmas, they say that the line isn't too sexy and that Helena Bonham is old now and she's irrelevant. Yeah, because that kind of ties into like ageism against women and how we don't really care about women until, well, like until a certain point, you know? Mindy's is the same, but a better quip at the line. It's like, oh, and how long would it take you if your mother wasn't watching? And she's like, less. I was like, wow, how great material here. Something a little better than that. I don't know what, you can figure it out. And also, I like to think that it's like, she's in the back, and almost make it a joke that like her mom's like ashamed of her because she's not married, you know? And she's like, Mom, I'm gonna go out and like, you know, say hi to like my friend. And she's like, a husband? And she's like, no, it's just like an old friend. And she's like, dang. Jokes like that. These are the jokes. Paulson's character. Sarah Paulson's character, I thought had the most potential, but it was just bad. It was just not good. I liked that she was the housewife, and I like how she kept like complaining about her children. But I wish that the husband was there. I don't know why the husband wasn't there. What I wish was happening is this was set at nighttime. Her husband's by the TV, watching TV. Her kids are chasing each other around the dining room, and she's trying to make dinner in the kitchen, and everyone's grabbing for her attention. The kids are making a mess, and her husband keeps asking for a beer, and she's just trying to cook this chicken, and he keeps asking, and it's getting like annoying at this point, and then she finally gets a text from Sandra to meet her in her garage. Oh, and Rihanna and Awkwafina, I would change positions, because Rihanna isn't a good actress, which is like not her fault, she's not an actress, but I think with a character like Awkwafina's as a pickpocket, she could do a lot more with it. And instead of being just like the silent hacker, she could be the silent pickpocket, which oddly enough works better. Now, I think that Rihanna still has the same kind of vibe with her outfit, and they meet her, and like Cate Blanchett's like, oh, I know the perfect girl, and they meet her at a prison, and Sandra's like, you know, oddly enough, I don't want to meet professional criminals that I'm going to be working with in a prison. And she's like, no, trust me, she's good, she just needs a little bit of help. And they meet her, and she's like, you know, kind of messy dressed, and they like see what she can do. Like, I don't know, she does a little bit of pickpocketing, and Sandra tells her, you know what, you're really, really good, you have it done, but can I recommend that you maybe change up your look, because it will be a lot easier for you to approach people, and especially guys, if you're dressed a little nicer. And again, it's playing with femininity, because, you know, women who appear nicer and appear more just like prettier and stuff, they can get away with things like that. And yeah, you know, she kind of turns into like a little more of a seductive character, but she's not like, you know, selling herself out. You know what I mean? It's like she's still being her, but she's just like, she's figured out she's Rihanna. Yeah, Awkwafina is pretty much the exact same character, but since we have to change it because we changed her introduction, she's winning a video game at like a mall or something with this other guy, and she like works at that mall like store, like a video game kind of store thing. And she's like beating this guy, and the guy loses, and he yells at her, and he's saying like, oh, you cheated, and she's like, oh, I swear I didn't cheat, look, you can like check. And he like's checking, and he's like, oh, okay, and then he walks away, and then she's like cleaning the video game stuff up, and she like kind of says it as an aside to herself, she says, well, you can't cheat if you made the video game. You know, something like that. I don't know. That's like a little cheesy, because I feel like that's very like hackers, but I thought that would be a little bit more of an interesting like, huh. Now, we're not gonna, you know, keep going down the list of everything, but I'm just gonna talk about general points until the heist. Oh my god, I kind of need to pee. Sarah Paulson, she gets the job because she's flirting with the male interviewer. She doesn't do anything like dramatic, but she, you know, she's just like a little flirtatious. Maybe she like wears something like a little bit risque. Helena gets the necklace because she cries to the Cartier guy, and she says that she's sad about her failures and she's so old. And she's like, but if you gave me the necklace, I could turn everything around. And he's like, I'll do it for you. And it's like, you know, you know, she's like amping him up while giving her what she wants. And when they're downstairs and it's not working, she like plays dumb or something. And I constantly want scenes of Paulson doing work things and her boss like making innuendos, and she's like, yeah. And when she comes back in with the Met Gala dresses, I want her to be like excited, and I want it to actually be like a cute moment where she's like giving them each of their dresses, and then they all are like looking at their dresses and they're like, see, this is so cute, right? And then she's like, this is exhilarating. And the part where Sarah Paulson and Sandra Bullock are talking, and she talks about how, you know, she like dated the artist and then he, you know, did that thing to her. It should still be the same, but it's like, she should say something like, I caught my big break. I finally was doing my con, and then, you know, it all backfired. Because that gives more justification into her childhood and then bringing it into adulthood. So her boyfriend doesn't just symbolize her going to jail for 5 years. It symbolizes these years of misogyny that she's had to deal with. From her dad, to her brother, to her boyfriend. Now, because of the setup that I did before, Kate and Sandra's argument feels a little bit more justified. Kate says that she should have never let Sandra go with that guy. Sandra says she'll never know the pain of someone you love leaving you out to dry, and then Kate does like a little like dramatic flip, and she's like, yeah, I might have a clue. And then she leaves, insinuating that she likes her, and that Sandra, low-key, broke her heart. And then Sandra feels bad. Gala time. Gorils. Ew, that was so gross. Now Sandra's little monologue, I like that she did in the mirror while she was getting ready. It's the same thing, but I think she should say something more along the lines of, it's for the little girl who wanted to be the criminal when everyone said no. You know? So it's like kind of to herself, kind of to the little girls out there, you know? It's a little sweeter, you know, because it's like she's getting that revenge. And I felt like in the movie they wanted to make the revenge like look like it was justified, but it didn't feel justified, you know? Like this, if it's this, it feels way more of like a, okay, I understand why she would do this. You know, Rihanna ends up becoming the date of like an old celebrity or something, and she's like gorgeous. And that was one of the things in the movie where you see her walking down the Met Gala and you're like, okay, if this was an actual event that happened and Rihanna was not a real person and she was just some hacker, and she walked onto the stairs like that with all the paparazzi everywhere, do you not think that there would be tabloids being like, who was that beautiful woman at the Met Gala? Do you not think that would happen? I don't. So I think if she's with a date and she's like actually at the Met Gala, it makes more sense. And I'm not gonna work out the technicalities of like what they actually did with the heist. Those are things that someone else could figure out because I don't care enough about that. But the twist is, in every Ocean's 8 movie, there's always a twist. There's always a possibility that the plan could completely fail in one instance, and the instance should be during the lockdown. This one, they kind of tried to do that, but I want the stakes to be even higher because I want Anne Hathaway's character to find Mindy and Awkwafina in the bathroom. So then she finds like the earpiece and she's like, I'm talking to your boss or whatever. And she goes on the headset with Sandra and she demands to be part of the money or the whole thing is a bust. Sandra says yes. And then they give her the fake, and then, you know, she goes back to the group and she's like, oh, I found the necklace. It was just like, I left it near the bathroom, in the bathroom stall, you know? And they ask why she was doing this. Or like Sandra asks, like, why do you need to do this? You're like a bajillionaire. And she says that when she was younger, all she could dream of doing was direct movies. And when she got into the industry, people said that she was too pretty to be behind the camera and should be in front of it. And for the rest of her life, she was playing static characters, static female characters who were just pretty. And now, maybe with this, she can direct like she always wanted. Now, it's the same scene at the end when everyone leaves with the pieces, but now it has more meaning to it because these women have been ignored throughout their lives, and now, guess what? They're using it to their advantage. They're getting away with, like, a lot of jewels. That's pretty cool. Oh, and also in that moment when Sandra goes to see Kate in the end of the movie, I want them to walk down the Met Gala together holding hands. No James Corden. I just don't want him there. I don't want him there. And also, I don't like how he figured out that the plan completely. That's kind of boring. That's kind of lackluster, you know? Like, I want like I don't know. I feel like that was just, I didn't like James Corden. Just didn't want him. No, nothing against the guy, but he was not who I was looking for. Now, whoever the new insurance guy is, he's trying to figure it out, and they see Sandra's character standing in that little, like, when they're looking at security footage, because she's still standing there the whole time. They say that Sandra couldn't be it, or the foreign lady's name, because right outside, because she was right outside the bathroom, yelling at them to not go in because it was the ladies' washroom and she looked like some crazy foreigner. Rihanna is really the only one who is suspected because she was there with like someone who's kind of a sugar daddy kind of situation, or that's what they're assuming, even though it's kind of true. But like, you know, she doesn't steal any like money from him, and she doesn't do any sugar daddying. She just, you know, she just does a little pickpocketing from him and does connections and stuff. I don't know what his business is, but he's there. Anyway, Anne Hathaway vouches for her, and it's fine. And it ends with the jailing, like before, and when they all go their separate ways, this is the moment you've all been waiting for, folks. Sandra and Kate are on a lovely motorcycle, and Kate says something like, "Are you sure about this?" And Sandra's behind her with like her motorcycle hat on, motorcycle hat, helmet, and it's a double meaning because she's saying like, "Are you ready to be in this relationship?" But what the audience doesn't see, because now, well, because it's a close-up shot, but she pans out and we notice they're in the grave of Danny. And she says, "Yeah." And do you know what they do? They run over Danny's grave. Sandra cheers, and they ride off into the sunset. Oh my god. I need to finish this video like right now, but I hope you enjoyed, guys. Make sure to give it a like, thumbs up, leave a comment down below if you agree with what I did, if you have any other changes you'd like to add to the Ocean's 8 script, because I love the idea of it. I love female heists. That sounds like a fun idea, but they just didn't do it well. They had some good elements, but not many. Bye.